Oh man, here we go. Back on Say Cheese. This one's a very, very special one. Got Charles Cosby to pull up, man, in the office, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, my good brother.
Man, you have an amazing story. Like I was up all night, past 2-3 nights, just doing my homework, and
Okay.
I mean your story is a one-on-one.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I mean, born and raised in Oakland.
East Oakland, yes.
What was that like?
Like any other kid growing up in the ghetto. Not really survival of the fittest. You know what I'm saying? We were poor, but I didn't know we were poor.
Mhm.
You know, because mom always, made a way. Just like any other ghetto. It's good and bad. You gravitate, navigate to, certain people. And sometimes you make lifelong friendships,
Mhm. What were some things that you witnessed growing up?
Growing up, I witnessed junkies, friends of the family, ODing of heroin, because during that time in the 70s, heroin was the big drug. There was a lot of heroin addicts who actually injected heroin to get high. So there was no crack or anything like that. So I witnessed, a few people ODing.
You have your dad in your life?
No, my dad left when I was about 2 years old. He never came back. My mom found out that my dad was dating a guy.
Whoa.
And she happened to be in the kitchen one night. And the phone rang. My dad answered the phone in the bedroom. Mom was in the kitchen, so she picked the phone up and eavesdropped. And my dad was talking sexual to another man. So that created a really bad situation where, dad assaulted my mom. And that was the last night we spent together as a family. I was 2 years old.
Did it affect you growing up, the single parent home?
In a way it did, because I didn't have a strong father figure in my life. My mom did what she could, and she was a really great mom. But sometimes only a man can raise a man. So I did miss that to a degree, but I love my mom nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. So you're in school. I mean, do you graduate high school or no?
I did well in school, elementary, junior high, high school. But when crack epidemic hit the scene, I dropped out of school, actually in the 11th grade.
Did you tell your mom, or you just gradually stopped going?
Well, the funny thing of it is, a year after I dropped out of school, my mom, she was preparing for my graduation. I from the 12th grade, my supposedly senior year. So she got her dress and went up to the school, and they said, "Your son don't go here no more."
How did she take that?
She was upset with me, but by that time, I was in the streets, so it was what it was.
You didn't feel like you let her down?
I did.
Like that guilt?
Oh, of course. I was really close to my mom. So anything that made her sad, it hurt me. But as a person that was in the street, I had to do what I had to do.
Were you already getting money at that age? 17, 16, 17,
Yeah,
18?
I started 16 getting money.
And that was being like you said, I don't want to misquote you, but being a vulture? Was that like the first?
No. I was actually selling crack. I got my first ounce coke from this guy named Banana, and at 16. So he taught me the ropes, and then I branched off from there.
And Banana, was that like a friend, or was that like an OG or older cat, or
okay?
He was in your grade, your age?
Banana was a guy I grew up with. He was one year older than me. He was a guy I grew up with in Brookfield Village. He became pretty successful selling cocaine. I looked up to the guy, and he put me in business. He fronted me an ounce of cocaine, and I went from there with it.
Were you just like curious, like seeing his lifestyle, the cars he had, and you was like, yo, put me in, you know, was it one of them type of?
Well, see, the thing of it is, so like at that point in time, like a lot of youngsters, like 15, 16, 17, they all started about the same time. And I mean, back then, I mean, a youngster could go and make 20,000 in one day, 15-year-old kid, you know, have nice cars. I mean, kids. And I was impressed and I wanted to be a part of that lifestyle.
Mm. So he put you on, he gave you some crack, right?
He gave me some coke and he taught me how to whip it into crack.
Mm. And then you start hustling.
Started hustling 24/7.
At that age, how much do you think you were making a week?
I was making like 1,000 every 2 days, which was a lot of money for a 16-year-old kid.
Even today?
Yes, a lot of money even today. Right? Yeah. So back then, you know, money was probably 4 times then than it is now. You know, you know, when you factor in inflation,
the buying power back then was way higher.
Yes.
So you're making 1,000 every 2 days. I mean, what do you buy? Are you buying cars, clothes? Are you saving it?
Well, the same thing kids buy, you know, cars, clothes, you know, little trinkets of jewelry, you know, take your girl to the movies or whatnot. So,
and your mom has no idea?
I'll get to that in a minute, but no, at that point, she didn't have any idea.
Okay. So, I mean, you're making good money and then your plug, I don't know if he's your plug, but Banana. Your friend at the time, some vultures, came, robbers. They came up on him when he was hanging out on the street and they shot him because he didn't want to give up his money.
They ambushed him, tried to rob him, and shot and killed him.
And they wanted you as well?
Well, the guys who killed Banana, allegedly they were killed. And so word was going around town that I could possibly have something to do with, allegedly. So I basically left Oakland.
Mm. And you left with 30 grand to was it Santa Barbara?
Fresno, California.
Fresno, I'm sorry.
That's actually where I was born at.
Okay. And you left there with 30,000.
I left Oakland with 30,000, went to Fresno.
Yeah. And you said it didn't last long. You basically said you ran through it.
Yes.
And is that just living life, or?
Yeah, months. It was months.
And in Fresno, you're not hustling. You're put away. You're trying to be low key.
No, I was living with my auntie. My auntie was very, very strict. I had to even be in the house, you know, before the street lights went off. So, I mean, it went on.
And this whole time, I mean, I know you said you was going to speak on it in a minute. Your mom has no idea. You just moved to Fresno. Your mom has no idea what's going on?
Well, she didn't have any idea at that point. But when I came back to Oakland months later, that's when she found out what I was doing. So I was actually in the kitchen one night, me and 2 of my guys. So I had a glass coffee pot on the stove, and I was cooking up some ounces of Coke. I think 3 or 4 ounces of Coke. And so my mom came in the kitchen. She was in her room. She came in the kitchen. And so she said, well, what is this? What's this on my stove? I said, that's nothing, Mom, nothing. She said, well, if it's nothing, let me throw it down the sink. And she poured it down the sink. And so and then I explained to her later, after my guys went home, what it was. And
she upset with you?
Very upset, because she had big dreams for me, you know, since I was a kid.
So you moved back from Fresno. You said at the time you were broke. So you're back in East Oakland, starting from zero.
Starting from zero.
How'd you get off your feet?
Okay, so me and 3 of my guys, the first night I was back in East Oakland. So we got together and decided, you know, let's go and rob drug dealers, because back then, either you were a drug dealer or you were a robber. You know, and at that time, it was easy to go rob a guy for $100,000. I mean, it was that easy because everybody had big money, everybody. You know, even females was making big money. So we robbed a guy, robbed and kidnapped a guy, got 9 pounds of crack, and held him for ransom, got another $50,000 in cash. So that's how I got back in. First night back in East Oakland.
Mm. So you robbed a guy, and then you had called his. I think you had called his people too to pick him up. So they gave y'all the 50,000 right then and there.
Well, so when we kidnapped him, he already had the crack with him, a bag of crack, not 9 pounds of crack. So we decided, okay, let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So we had him call his guy. You know, I'm in a situation. I was gambling. You know, I need X amount of dollars. Don't ask no questions. So later that morning, you know, they came and bought us the money, and we dropped him in San Francisco.
Mm. Is that like the only person you robbed before?
It's the only robbery I've ever participated in.
Mm.
And I frown on vultures, you know, because they the bottom of the bucket as far as the hood is concerned. You know, so you know I have no remorse when they get killed because you know they're the bottom of the bucket.
Right. So do y'all split the money?
Yeah, we split it up equally. Yeah.
Okay, and then now you're back in the groove of things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
12,500 for each one of us.
Mm-hmm. So what comes after that?
I'm back in the game.
Just going hard.
I'm back in the game.
How much are you making, like a lot of money off of it? Is it just
well, the thing of it is you could make as much money as the amount of product you have. I mean, especially during that time, it'd just go. It'd just disappear, you know. So if you had 1,000 pounds of crack, I mean, it'd just go because everybody was doing crack. Like in today's society, everybody drink. Back then, everybody was doing crack. You could set up on any corner, whatever, and you would sell out.
Mm-hmm. Can you recall the most you made in one day?
As a youngster?
As a youngster.
Maybe 5,000.
5,000.
But even that's not a lot of money compared to the guys that were upper echelon. Like they could knock down 50,000 in one day, easy. You know, and that was just a regular day for them.
Yeah. Have you took any L's? Did you take any L's around that age? You know, people maybe stealing from you or getting robbed?
Yeah, well, taking losses in the game, the street game, that's a part of the street tax you pay. You know, that's going to happen, you know, no matter who you are. At some point in time, it's going to happen. Somebody actually broke in my house and stole my shoebox with my money in it. So, you know, little things like that.
How much was that?
May have been 20,000.
Ooh.
And back then, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, you're a teenager, that's a lot of money.
You have an idea who did it?
No.
Got to be somebody close to you. Maybe a female, maybe?
Quite possibly.
Yeah. But you didn't dwell on it?
Nah, I mean, you know, what can you do? You know, unless you're definitive about who did it, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. Did you ever go to jail or get caught up?
I've never been caught selling drugs. I've been caught with machine guns, other things, but never drugs.
Never drugs. That's a blessing.
Well, see, the thing of it is, you never sleep. You know where you get down at. You know, it's just something you don't do. You know, if you come to my house, the worst thing you will find is a gun. You know, no drugs though.
Do you think East Oakland has changed?
East Oakland is a very beautiful and vibrant city. You know, Black Panthers started there. You know, we had 3 championship teams there: the Oakland A's, the Oakland Raiders, and the Golden State Warriors. But Oakland has gone through a transformation, you know, just like most of the country. Well, urban America, I should say. It still has its bright spots, but it has many more dark spots these days. The youngsters, for instance, have no respect for nobody. You know, no respect for nobody. You know, they don't respect their parents. They respect nobody. When I was a kid growing up, you know, you respected your teachers, you know, your principal, your elders in the community. But now they're killing the elders and robbing them, you know. So I still love Oakland. That's going to always be my home, you know. But a lot of people prefer not to go back to Oakland. But, you know, that's going to always be my home until the day I die.
In the crack era, you know, I read stories, I watched stories where you know, crack, cocaine, it really tore down the community. You know, it was people where you'd see people who were nurses, doctors, over time, they will become totally different people. You know, tell me an experience you had where you noticed somebody go from having everything to nothing because of crack.
This one OG guy, uh, I would say he was a later mentor of mine, 86, 87, 88. His name was Donald. He was a boss. Had a house on the hill, Mercedes, Porsches. He was a boss. And beautiful family. His son was even a model. He started getting high, you know, on his own product. And he lost everything. His family, his houses, his cars, lost everything.
You never tried your own work? Like,
I've never been high one day in my life.
Me either.
Yeah.
I'm just scared.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And so like, I've never even tasted alcohol. You know, I saw what alcohol did to my mom growing up after, you know, her separation from my dad. So I promised, you know, I would never drink. And I saw what drugs did to my sister and to the people I sold drugs to. So I've never smoked marijuana, alcohol, cocaine. I've never done anything.
Yeah, that's just like with me. I'm scared to fall in love with it. Like I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't even want to put myself in a predicament to even like it.
Yeah.
Because you know, I'm the type of person. I'm a real loyal, 10 feet down dude. Once I like it, I love it. You know what I mean? So that's just my point of view on it. Why I've never tried it. Have you ever been tempted to try it though?
Not once in my life.
Wow.
Not once.
Strong person.
You know, and that's on my mom's grave.
That's strong because you've been around it. Like we live two totally different lives, but you were around that every day to not even try it.
Almost a majority of my life. And like my nephews to this day, like, Unc, you so fucking strong, man. You know, nothing bothers you. Death, nothing bothers you. It doesn't. I just live my life accordingly, try to stay out the way, try to stay under the radar, you know, take care of my kids, and that's it.
So how do you know your product was good? Did you have like testers, people who would come try it, or?
Well, back then, pretty much all cocaine was good. It was probably about the same, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, it was about the same, and you know, everybody wanted a high. So even they had to settle for something inferior, which it was rarely inferior coke on the streets back then, because it was coming straight in, you know? Everybody had a lot of money.
What was your clientele like? Was it white people? Was it black, older, younger?
No, it was the dregs of society, you know, in the ghetto.
So every day just booming, phone or pager going off, house ringing. Like, was it like that, or was it like people knew where the house to come to?
Okay, well, I had one house, two houses, you know, and other places where I got down at. So you could open up shop on any corner, they gonna come. You know what I'm saying? They was only concerned about. My only concern was not the quality, but how big it was. You know, so you know, if you had the biggest rocks, or back then they called them hubbas.
Hubbas?
Yeah, hubbas. So if you had the biggest hubbas, you know, you have a line around the corner.
Just word of mouth.
Word of mouth. You know, nothing travels faster than good dope.
Did it ever become any tension between you and anybody else that was hustling? Maybe territory or?
To be honest with you, no, because everybody was getting money.
Getting money.
Everybody was getting money, bro. Everybody was getting money. You know, youngsters getting money. So it was no friction, you know.
Until, you know, the police start cracking down on it. That's when it got. You say that's when it got like ugly a little bit when.
Well, the thing of it is, police, they've always cracked down on it. But then they created special task force units where they just specifically targeted street guys. You know, they would pull up in Crown Victorias back then, you know, with all four doors open, jumping out, running, you know. And back then, police brutality was kind of like acceptable. You know, they could beat you upside the head with their nightclub, bust your head, take you to jail, and then still charge you with the dope. There was nobody you can tell.
Ain't
You know what
nothing
I'm
you
saying?
could do.
It was like legal. Like even back then, like if you get into a situation with your wife or your girlfriend, you know, you beat her up or whatever, you know, that's a family thing. So they just left it alone.
Mm-hmm. So one day you're watching TV and you see the news comes on, and it's a news report of Greselda Blanco. She was arrested, and you were really like intrigued by the story, and you wrote her a letter.
Yes.
Can you take us through that whole? Because it was one of your friends on the Cocaine Cowboys too that was like, I wouldn't have thought to do that. Like that was a genius move.
That's actually my son-in-law.
That's your son-in-law?
Yeah, he was married to my daughter who was killed.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Right on. Donovan D. Folks Kennedy. So that's actually like right around the time when we kidnapped and robbed a drug dealer. It was around that time. Saw on television, you know, and there were some women drug dealers, but I didn't know they existed to that degree. You know, that's like cream of the crop, you know. So a light bulb went off in my head. Damn, what if I could meet this woman one day? You know, and she could be that divide, you know what I'm saying, from me being a street dealer to me being a major dealer, you know what I mean? So, and I've always been extremely smart, you know. I aced my classes when I went, you know, aced my classes, English, science. So several years later, I met a woman who actually used to work for Greselda in Miami. She was a Panamanian chick. And so I sat with her. I'm like, listen, I need you to do me a favor. I'll give you whatever you need. You know, I need you to form a bridge between myself and Greselda Blanco. She said, okay. She said, I'll reach out. You know, she's in prison, but I don't know exactly which prison she's in, but she's doing time. She got like 35 years, she said. So she found out where she was at. She was actually 20 minutes from my house in California, right outside of Oakland. So she let me write her letter first, and then, you know, you can follow up. So she wrote her letter saying, you know, this is Guy. He's infatuated with you. You know, he's a great guy. You know, solid guy. So she wrote her. Then I wrote her, and she was receptive to what I said, and that's how I kicked off.
She wrote you back, or did she call you?
She wrote me back originally.
Okay.
The first phone call I received was around the 4th of July.
How long was that from when she wrote you back?
It was several months because I was the beginning of 1991.
And what was that first convo like?
Well, someone had called me from New York, informed me that Greselda would be calling me momentarily. So it's okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Was you nervous?
Oh, very nervous. I was extremely nervous because this was my idol, you know, for 5-6 years, you know. So she called me. I answered the phone. She said, may I speak to Charlie? I said, this is me. She said, how are you? So, you know, we talked. And maybe about 15 or 20 minutes. But during the phone conversation, she was basically, it was more like an interview, you know, and so obviously I passed because I got a second phone call. And so that's what really kicked it off.
Did she speak good English?
She spoke fairly good English.
And then y'all start talking more and more. 2 calls a day to 4 calls a day.
And that transpired to visits, personal visits.
What was it like the first time y'all seen each other?
So she called me early one morning. she said, Charles, it's time for us to meet in person. You know, this is very important. You know, I become very fond
Are
of
you
you.
telling your friends? Are you telling anybody? Like, are you happy? Like, are you keeping
Well,
it to
well,
yourself?
at that point, I kept it under wraps at that point. So
Because I would have told the whole hood, the whole everybody would have fucking.
yeah, well, that came later. But so like, I kept it under wraps. I went to the prison, got there about 7:30. Visits from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Went through the metal detector, you know, escorted to the visit facility. Waited for about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes so they could bring her in. And I would say it was a surreal moment at that point because, like I say, you know, that was my hero. And she walked over to me. We embraced, we kissed, and she sat down and we just talked for all those hours.
Mm. Did she tell jokes? Was she nice? Because when the name Greselda Blanco comes up, we get serious, we get mean vibes, we get gangster. You know, what was her personality like towards you?
Greselda, she was very cordial. You know, of course, we know she was a gangster, but it was also another side of her as well. She was very cordial. She was very respectful. Crack jokes even.
Mm. Did other people ever write her letters and stuff like that, or was?
From my understanding, yes, but she would just tear them up and throw them away. You know, she just wanted to do her time, get out, and go back to Colombia with her family.
Mm. So, according to your Vlad interview, you've seen her hundreds of times, damn near. Like you went to the jail 100, like
300,
a lot.
300 to be exact.
300 times. Did any one time stick out more than the other, or?
To be honest with you, no, because, you know, we had developed such an emotional attachment for each other. It was like, you know, you going to visit your girlfriend, you know.
Mm-hmm. So y'all become boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yes.
And there were reports that you cheated on her and she put out a hit on you. Is that true?
Yes. So like, it was this Caucasian lady at the very first visit. Actually, her name was Amber. A very beautiful lady, blonde hair, blue eyes, maybe about 5 feet 10 inches tall. So we slid into a conversation before Greselda came out because she was there waiting for her cousin to come out as well for the visit, and she gave me her phone number. One day I'm bored, so I called her. So we agreed to meet. So we started a relationship where, you know, we would take trips together. I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing, you know, with another woman. And so her cousin, the one she would come to visit, confided in her cellmate. Once Amber told her, well, I'm with Charles, and everybody knew me, you know, because everybody know Greselda in the prison. So she cautioned Amber, like, you know, that's not a good thing because Greselda is very crazy and she's very jealous. She's territorial, so you know, so that's not a good thing not only for you but for me because I'm in here with Greselda.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and any enemy of hers, you know, so you know how I go. If Amber's her enemy, her cousin's the enemy. So she gonna get the closest thing to Amber. So so the cousin confided in her cellmate. So the cellmate, you know, most of them was loyal to Greselda. She said she wouldn't say anything, but she did. So she confided into this this lesbian chick named Chical. She was from Cuba. And Chical told Greselda. And so that's when Greselda hired a private eye. And so followed us, documented some things that I shouldn't have been doing with Amber. And that's when she tried to have me killed.
Did Griselda ever tell you that she knew that you?
She never told me until afterwards.
But she knew everything you were doing with her because the private eye.
Yes.
And when did she open up to you that she knows what's going on?
Okay, so after I got shot, I went to visit her in prison. And well, let's back up a little bit. So after I got shot, I'm recuperating at home.
And you got shot in Oakland?
Yeah, East Oakland. So I'm recuperating at home. So as you alluded to, I spoke to Greselda, 3, 4, 5, 6 times every day. So the phone calls just went radio silent. This was right after I got shot. So that was kind of troubling to me. So she called maybe 3 days later. Amber answered the phone because I was just going to let it ring. Amber answered the phone, so I got on the phone. So it was Greselda talking shit. I know you laying up in bed right now with a white bitch, the same bitch you've been cheating on me with. If you don't come visit me tomorrow, those little guys, they're going to finish the job, right? In fact, look out your window. Looked out the window, and there was a car in front of my house. And it drove off. So I went to visit her the next day. She told me, you've been cheating on me with the white bitch. So you got to come clean now. You got to fess up right now. And if you don't, you're not going to leave this prison alive. And I knew she meant business because, the guards, they were, on her payroll. So they answered to her and not the other way around. So, we talking, and she got so upset that I was kind of like in denial. And so she grabbed me across the table, choking me across the table. And she sat down after she, satisfied what she had done. So I said, use some explicit language with her. Don't ever do this again, bitch.
You said that to her?
I said that to Greselda because I felt embarrassed. Everybody was looking. It was an embarrassing moment for a man to get choked by a woman. But at the very same time, I'm still recovering from this bullet wound in my arm. So.
And that had nothing to do with you cheating, right? You getting shot in your arm?
Yes, that's when I got shot.
Wow.
That's when I got shot.
I thought that was your whole different.
No, that's when I got shot right here.
So that was from her?
Yes. That was days before the visit when she summoned me to the prison.
Were they trying to kill you, or was that a warning?
Well, to be honest with you, I was wearing a bulletproof vest. So, and the vest absorbed some of the bullets. So without the vest, I would have died. So I don't think it was a warning shot per se.
Wow, I got my head is spinning. So you get shot. Okay, so let's back up. You get shot in your arm. Do you even know where that came from? Before you knew she was mad, did you even know that was from Greselda?
I had no idea. I had no idea. Zero idea. And I started having some thoughts and some suspicions, after the phone calls dropped off. 1 day and then 2 days. I'm like, it's kind of odd. I get shot, and then, I don't hear from Greselda.
Do you think, was she bipolar?
No. She wasn't bipolar at all. Greselda was very intelligent. She was very intelligent. But she was not no ordinary woman. The things that some woman may accept, she was willing to kill you over it.
So you looked out your window when y'all were on the phone and you seen the car outside.
Yeah, I seen the car outside.
So she knew everything about where you
She
lived
knew
because you opened up to her as well. When
Yeah.
y'all, she
Oh.
knew the shit she would tell you. You would tell her certain things.
Yeah, well, see, by that time I had moved. I was in a much more affluent neighborhood. So she knew everything about me.
Mm. How did the white girl react? Did you tell her? Did she know? Did she try to kill her too? Or
okay, no. So over the course of the 3 days out here from Greselda, she was at my house, the white girl, Amber, So she told me, she said, something happened to my cousin in jail. I'm like, well, what happened to your cousin in jail? She's like, well, she was beat up. And so I'm like, she was beat up. That's kind of peculiar. I guess how your cousin get beat up. So, and then she told me, she said, well, I told my cousin that I was dating you. I'm like, why the fuck would you do that? So then my suspicions went through the roof. And as I suspected, Greselda had known about it because she told her cousin.
Mm. So she chokes you at the table, you cuss her out. Do y'all get back closer again, or is it kind of, it's never the same?
Well, so after she calmed down a bit, and I asked her, I'm like, Greselda, have I ever been dishonest with you? Have I ever stolen anything from you? Have I ever betrayed you, aside from sleeping with a white bitch? I said, I've always been on the level with you, always, And so her anger kind of dissipated. And so she forgave me. She said, I'll forgive you, but there cannot be any more reoccurrences of this behavior. So we shook hands, we hugged, and that was the end of that.
So wait, after you've been shot already. Like you felt wrong, right? Like rightfully so?
Of course. But at the end of the day, I'm a man.
Exactly.
Men love beautiful women.
Did you explain that to her?
Well, I told her, I said, it's not that I loved her, it's that it's more or less that you're locked up. I can't be with you anytime I want to. We have to have engaged in stolen sexual moments, where we have to pay $1,500 each time. So, and I said, I can't have you, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So what am I supposed to do? I'm a man.
And what did she say?
She's like, I understand that, but your loyalty is to me first and foremost. She said, because at the end of the day, those bitches that you're running with, or the bitch you was running with, she's not going to do anything for you, or not as much as I've done for you, which was true.
Were you still fucking other women on the side?
Very rarely.
I know you were scared as shit though, looking through the bush, looking under the car.
Absolutely. And the thing, I'm a young man. I'm in my 20s, my mid-20s, my early to mid-20s. At that age, your dick get hard if the wind blow too hard,
I mean, this woman is powerful, like
exceptionally powerful.
I mean, guys that can just sit outside your house and know your whereabouts. I mean, you're a respected guy in East Oakland, California. I mean, what were some things that, were you ever blown away on how powerful she really was? Like, what were certain things that you witnessed of her power?
Okay, so I received a call early one morning for me to go to Colombia. So, I was informed that some tickets are waiting for me, American Airlines. So I went to Colombia. I met up with my host, and so we took a ride through the mountains and down into the valley, a 2-hour ride outside of Medellin, where it was nothing but forest and brush and all that shit. And so I went to what you call a stash house, just a cinder block building in the middle of nowhere, right? And went in the stash house, and there's maybe 3,000 kilograms of cocaine on pallets, from the floor to the ceiling.
Would that fill up this room?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Damn.
And so, and that was the nerve center of her business. And that blew me away. This woman is in prison doing a 35-year sentence, federal sentence, and she's still running the show. That blew me away. That's power.
How many people can you recall on how many people were like working this house or there protecting it?
It was maybe about 12 guys there. They were all dressed in army fatigues. It was a table with radios that they kept in contact. And actually, while I was there, a plane actually landed. You know what I'm saying? It was a little landing strip, and loaded up maybe 300 keys, and he took off back to the States.
Does she ever did she ever because why did you go out there for business purposes, if you don't mind me asking?
See, she and I had become so close. She wanted me to experience everything.
And I mean, because I seen videos of saying that she made you a millionaire. Is that true?
45 days after that first meeting in prison, yeah, I was a millionaire. 45 days.
Break that down for me.
Okay, so when I met her that Saturday at the prison for the very first time, I stayed there 8 hours, from 8 to 3, so that's 7 hours, stayed there. Okay, so during our meeting, she told me that she would do anything that I asked of her. She said, what can I do for you to make life better for you and your kids? Name any price and, I make sure you have it. I'm like, well, I won't accept any money from you, but, if you can give me, some snow or cocaine, I'll make you proud of me. So she was like, well, how much are you talking? Because I can definitely make that happen. I said, let's, I just threw them out there. Let's go with 50 keys. I expected to say, no, well, I'll give you 10. She said, okay, I'll make it happen, no problem.
50?
Yeah, 50 keys. So on a whim, or if only to prove to me that, she still had the juice. So she made it happen. So the very next day, the dope was delivered to my house in East Oakland.
The very next day?
The very next day, Sunday.
What's going through your mind? I mean, are you telling friends? Are you telling is this, what's going through your mind, man?
Okay, so what's going through my mind is this. All throughout my life, everything I've put my mind to, I've been able to conquer it, right? So this was just another one of those plans I had that came to pass, right? And so of course I was very jubilant, but it was not unexpected that I would do this, because anything I put my mind to, I was always able to accomplish it. But yeah, in my mind at that very moment, I was the man in my mind.
How do you disperse 50 keys? Okay,
so back then, as I was telling you, everybody in Oakland had money. Everybody in Oakland had money. 100,000 laying around here, 300,000 in the trunk of your car. So, I put the word out, I got keys, and this is the price of them. So they went, maybe 10 days, it was all gone, because everybody had money.
And that turned into $1 million, or was it more?
Well, okay, so.
Because how much was that worth back then?
Okay, so I made $2 million.
Off those 50 keys?
Made $2 million, so she gave me 10%. So I made $200,000 in commission, right? So 2 weeks later, I was in New York. I did another big deal. Another $200,000. That's $400,000. And then weeks after that, no, actually a week after that, I was in Miami with her biggest contact in the United States. He was a Cuban guy. I won't say his name, but he was a Cuban guy. So he ordered, I want to say 300 keys. And so I got my commission from that. So and then I did another deal a week after that, or maybe a week and a half after that, another big deal. So and then that put me at $1 million and all that in the span of 45 days.
Do you keep it going with her business wise, or you just run it up and then?
Okay, so I did business for her, but I still conducted my own business. You know, so I had two sources of income, but of course, hers was the biggest because, you know.
Yeah, of course. I see why she shot you now, because she put you in position to win,
and I cheated on her.
It's like you betrayed her. So it's like, I helped this dude out.
And then not only that, just by nature, Latina women are very jealous and territorial.
That's true. No, I'm playing.
You saw her shook her head?
So, man, my mind is blown right now. So, I mean, she introduced you to her kids, right? Her son?
Yes.
And y'all were extremely close?
Extremely close, yes.
And I think even one, I don't know if it was one of her sons or brothers that said that they never liked you.
That was actually her oldest son, El Negro, Dixon. Rest in peace to Dixon. I believe he just passed maybe 4 months ago.
Natural causes or
killed? I heard he had some health issues in his later years, so I don't know the full details.
He said he never liked you.
Yeah, he never liked me. That's like, for instance, like you, for instance, your mom is going with a 19-year-old credit card scammer. I don't think you're going to be too fond of that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like you, man. Why you hang with my mom? You're too young for my mama. You know, what's your motherfucking motive?
You think also you were black too?
Oh, of course, that played a big role.
Yeah.
Because traditionally, Colombians don't associate with blacks, no more than Italians did.
At this time, were you kind of paranoid about your surroundings?
No, because the more money you get, the more invincible you think you are. So you're untouchable. You know, especially when you go from having nothing to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. You're untouchable. You're invincible.
What about now? Do you still have to look over your shoulder?
Absolutely not.
You know,
and the thing of it is, to be totally honest, the last few years I've been to 65 countries, right? I go by myself, no security. You know, I fear nobody, nowhere. You know, if it's meant to happen, it's going to happen. I don't dwell on it. You know, like for instance, so like I was actually banned from Colombia for a number of years because of my association with Greselda. So the ban was lifted. The travel ban was lifted by the Minister of Tourism in Colombia, February 2018. So I immediately purchased a round trip ticket to Colombia. You know, I wanted to go and to Griselda's grave and have final closure, right? So my family and everybody I knew was telling me, don't go to Colombia because you're not going to come back alive. I said, well, if that's the plan, you know, that the universe has for me, so be it. I accept it. I don't fear nobody. So I went there, and I have a really good friend. He's like my brother. His name is Juan. We've been friends for like 18 years. He's Colombian. So he told me, he said, Charlie, he said, Popeye's out of prison, or Papaya, which is Escobar's top hitman. Killed like maybe 3,000 people. Papea's
He
out
killed 3,000 people.
3,000 people, yeah. And that's a conservative estimate, including he bombed the Avianca airline and killed all 200 and some odd people that was on board. So he said, Papaya, you know, he wants to meet you, you know. He's very fond of you. I said, okay, let's make it happen. So I arrived in Colombia. I went to Medellin. I went to my hotel. So Juan called me. He said, Charles, Papaya cannot meet with you because he's in Bogota. So I said, okay, no problem. Don't worry about it. So the next morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, Juan calls. He said, Charles, Papaya wants to meet with you at the cemetery. So I said, at the cemetery at 5 in the morning? He's like, yeah. I said, I'm gonna have to pass.
And this is a guy that killed 3,000 people.
Yes. You know, so he was with the Pablo Escobar faction. I was with Greselda's faction. So, you know,
so just,
we enemies just by association, you know. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna have to pass on it. So he said, okay, no worries. So later that day, Juan called me. And mind you, Juan's a good guy. I trust him with my life. He's a good guy. He's like my brother. You know what I'm saying? So Juan called me. He said, Charles, Papaya is at the mansion and he wants to meet you. I said, okay, cool. You know, where's the mansion?
You didn't think this was a setup at all?
I'm getting to that.
Okay, my bad.
No, you're good. So I said, okay, so where's that? So I'm with this chick who I've been knowing for a number of years, right? She's Colombian, born and raised in Medellin. So we were eating on the outskirts of Medellin at a nice little sidewalk cafe. So when Juan called me, he said, Papaya wants to meet you. You know, we're at the mansion. I said, okay, cool. He's like, where? I said, I'm at this roadside cafe, you know, in such and such sector. He said, what a coincidence. You know, we literally 1 minute from there. The mansion is 1 minute from there. And mind you, this chick is the one who suggested we eat here. So now my antennas go up, not because of Juan, because like I said, I trust him with my life. But I'm wondering, did she have something to do with, you know, had been in contact with Papaya and Juan not even know about it? So two guys came on a motorcycle. And in Colombia, you know, that's how they get you.
Yeah.
The guy on the back seat. So they came on a motorcycle. And so we're driving up the hill, going to the mansion. So I'm looking at the bitch next to me. And she looking at me like almost like suspicious, but I don't know if I was being paranoid or not, but it looked like she was looking suspicious to me, right? So, and the two guys on the motorcycle in front of us, the guy on the back is talking to him, you know, and then they would look back, talk to him. So I'm watching everything, right? So we made it to the mansion. The security gate opened up, electric security gate opened up. We went in, they closed behind us. So I parked, and so they like, you know, follow us. So went up the stairs, and I actually got video of this too. If you want some video of it, I got video of it. So we went up the stairs, and so as I'm going up the stairs, I look to the left, and it's the big dining room window, and Papaya was sitting right there. I saw the back of his head. So I went in, we greeted each other, which I'm gonna give you the video. We greeted each other, told each other how fond we were of one another.
Was Juan there?
Yes, Juan was there. Yeah.
And was the girl there too?
She was there too. And so so we talked for maybe 20 minutes in the dining room area. And then Papaya suggested, mind you, it was like 6 other guys there, and most of them are bodybuilders, right? Big Colombian guys. And so I'm just looking at everybody, right? I'm looking at everybody, you know, but I'm cordial, smile on my face. I trust my guy Juan with my life, right?
Why do you trust him so much?
because over the years he's gained my trust. You know, for years after Greselda was murdered, I would call Juan, please put some flowers on Greselda's grave for me. He would do it. Juan, do this for me, do that. He would do it. No problem, boss. Consider it done. Great guy. He's never changed all these years. In fact, I'll call him when we wrap this up. You can meet him. So, Prepare suggested, Charles, let's take a picture in the living room area, right? So I said, okay, cool, let's do it. So we went in there. It was a ottoman, what you put your feet on.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me, you know, because he speaks Spanish, he's like, sit here, and then I'm gonna come behind you, and you know, I'm gonna take a picture like this, you know, with my arm around your neck. So I don't let my kids put their arms around my neck, and I'm gonna give you the picture so you can put it in your B-roll footage. So I'm like, I'm looking at one, I'm looking at these other dudes, these bodybuilders, right? And I'm looking at the bitch. I wasn't worried about Prepare because he's little, right? Because all I had to do was just ram back and ram him into the wall, right? So I wasn't worried about him, worried about these other dudes, right? And, you know, I knew Juan would have been a part of it. It would have been something that they snuck in behind his back, you know what I'm saying? So I sat down. He took the picture, you know, arm around my neck. And it was cool. It was cool, you know. It was cool. We sat on the couch. We conversed for about maybe 2-3 hours, just conversing, you know, the old days, about Greselda, about Pablo, how they're both two of the richest ones in that cemetery, which was true. We went and played pool. We went to the guest house and played pool, you know, upstairs. Had a great time. So it came time for us to leave. Everything was cool. So gave everybody, you know, goodbye hugs. Me and Chick, we got in the car. So we get to the gate, getting ready to leave. And so it's an electronic gate. So the gate opened up. So when the gate opened up, there was 2 guys on a motorcycle there.
Same guys?
No, some different guys. And so they were just waiting. So I'm like, damn. I said, this is it. I wasn't scared of nothing. I said, this is it.
You were sure?
I was positive. I put that on my mom. I was 100% positive. So I drove out the gate real slow. So as I'm driving out the gate, they didn't even drive in yet. So they watched me drive out. So I made the little right turn to go down the street. And so I'm thinking about mine. If they turn around, I'm just gonna throw this motherfucker in reverse and smash him, right? So I'm driving, looking in my rearview mirror, driving slow like 5 miles an hour because I'm finna throw this motherfucker in reverse and hit it. They never came and the gate closed. So then I went back to the hotel. So I said all that to say this. I'm not afraid of nobody, nowhere. I'm not the baddest guy in the world, but I'm fearless. You know, it's 2 things that I've never seen. A bitch that I would give money to for some pussy, and a man that I fear. I've never seen that in my life. And so even Juan was like, Charles, are you sure you don't need security? I get you security $200 a day. I'm like, I'm fine. And I was good. So since then I've been going back and forth. You know, life is what it is, you know. I've never made enemies in my life. Because they say karma's a bitch, you know. She always got a way to find you sooner or later. I've never made enemies in my life. You know, I've brokered more peace treaties than I created enemies, you know what I'm saying? And I've been fair with everybody. You know, I treat everybody with respect, no matter who they are, whether they are a king or a street sweeper. I treat everybody with the same amount of respect.
In Colombia, do you stick out like a sore thumb because you're black?
Well, not because I'm black, because I'm so famous in Colombia. You know, you have to understand that they had a telenovela, a soap opera, It's called The Black Widow. And in that series, well, just Cocaine Cowboy 2 in general, we reach a wide audience, Central South America. So when I go to Colombia, they want to take pictures with me, which is it's a wonderful thing, I've been greeted with nothing but respect all these years. Nobody, not one person has ever disrespected me in my face, because if a person does that, either they have to kill me, I'm gonna kill them. Respect is a very big thing to me. I value that more than money.
Does Greselda, does she still have a team? And in so many words, should I say, the people, her crew or organization or whatever, is it years after she passed, was it still intact or?
No, actually, you know what, to be honest with you, so like
you could record it too.
When she got out of prison after 19 years, I still had a lot of money, but me and her, we weren't on speaking terms anymore. So she got out in 2004, June to be exact. And so her entire organization, for lack of a better word, was disbanded. So she got out the game rich, still had power, but that structure of her organization had been disbanded.
Mm. Do you remember where you were at when you heard the news that she was killed?
Actually, I was at home. Juan called me. Answered the phone. He called me from Medellin. He was like, boss, Greselda was just assassinated coming from the butcher shop. So I knew before anybody knew.
Mm. Hey. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was felt like I got hit in my chest with a sledgehammer, to be honest with you. I mean, it hit me hard, because this was a woman who I spent, a great deal of my life with, a woman who I admired for so many years. And by this time, she's a grandmother. She's 69 years old. She's a grandmother. I don't think she deserved to go out like that. But I go back to karma. Karma might be slow, but karma is absolute, So it was a sad day for me and a lot of other people, I'm sure. Do I miss her now? Of course I do. She was a very intricate part of my life. So, but it is what it is. We all got a date. So.
Yeah. I mean, they said she was responsible for between 40 and 200 murders. You believe that?
Yeah, that's actually a fact, but it was maybe 250 to 300 murders. And that's just in Miami.
Before we get out of here, because I would love to do a part 2. I have like 100 more questions.
We could always do a part 2, always.
Most def. It's estimated that she made around $8 million a month.
80 million.
80.
She at her peak, she made more than $1 billion a year in Miami at her peak. A billion with a B.
And she told you this?
Yes, absolutely.
What about when you knew her when she was in jail? It wasn't her peak, but
50 million a year.
50 million a year.
That's being locked up.
I like how you played the long game too, because you said you never asked her for money.
Never asked her for money. But when she offered, I declined it.
She would offer you money sometimes?
Well, in the very beginning, she offered me money. I said, well, I don't so much want money, but put me in the game so I can make my own money.
Exactly.
Give me some snow, give me some cocaine. I'll make my own money and I'll make you proud of me at the same time, which I did.
And what, like you said, y'all stopped talking after 2004, right?
No, we actually stopped talking in 97.
97. You couldn't get your act right?
No, so what happened, so her top hitman was this guy named Jorge Rivi Ayala. So he committed a number of murders for like maybe 60 murders just in Miami alone. So he was already doing life in prison for some previous murders in the 80s. So they tacked some more murders onto him where he was looking at the death penalty. So he agreed to cooperate, right? And so she got indicted. He pegged her maybe a dozen murders. They charged her with 3 of the dozen. So at that point, well, even before they charged her though, so it was a secret indictment, or a secret grand jury testimony, I should say. So we found out about it on actually a conference call. And so she came up with a harebrained scheme. Her son even talks about it with Vlad. He confirms it with Vlad about she enlisted me to help kidnap John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. in New York, hold him hostage until they release her, right?
Yeah?
Yeah. So FBI got wind of it.
Wait, she wanted y'all to kidnap John Kennedy Jr.?
John Kennedy Jr. in New York. They hold him. Actually, 4 Colombians came from Colombia on false passports. And so they were part of the team.
And your name was in it?
Absolutely. They came to my house. Feds came to my house. So that's how we broke up. So from there, they transferred her from federal prison to county jail in Miami, right? They hit her with the murders, after the indictment. And so she was looking at the death penalty. And so it was a secretary in the prosecution's office. She would handle the lead prosecutor's phone calls.
Yeah, the sex.
Yes, Reeve would call often
Mm-hmm.
to star witness against her. And so they developed a phone sex relationship.
Yeah.
And so that blew the whole case up. So they offered her a deal, 20 years for 3 murders. So she basically beat it. So that was 97. She did additional 7 years on 3 murders because she was sentenced under the old guidelines of 1/3 of your sentence. So if you got 30 years, you did 10 years. So she got 20, she did right at 7 years. She got out June 2004. And, was just living a life as a grandma, cooking for the family. And she had a really great big house. I seen you some B-roll footage of that as well.
Yo, you should write a book.
I did.
You did write a book?
Hustle with the Godmother.
It's out?
I'm actually revising right now, but it was
Yeah,
out.
you should write it.
We did 50,000 copies, Mike. Yeah, Mike's got his own personal copy. Yeah, it made a lot of noise, bro.
Yeah, I'd buy.
No,
I'd buy one.
I'll give you 10.
Yeah, I want to buy. I would support. I just want to support.
Yeah.
Before we leave though, I guess her son did an interview with Vlad and said that you were lying about the 50 keys. Do you want to speak on that?
Well, the only thing I would say about that, he was misinformed. Greselda know, I know. That's my story, that's her story. So, just because somebody does something don't mean that you're informed, don't mean they're going to tell you every little thing that they do. So, much respect to Michael. I hope he make $100 million. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no animosity toward nobody. I do me, I let them do them. And wherever the cards fall, let them fall. But I'm a man at the end of the day. And ain't nobody gonna take that from me. I'm gonna always defend myself. But like I said, Michael's a good guy. Nothing but love for him. I love him. He's been a part of my life for more than 30 years. So I wish him and his family well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he wished me and my family well.
Have y'all spoke since?
I talked to Mike last year. I actually spoke to Vlad, and Vlad agreed to give him an interview. So
yeah, that's dope. Very, very last thing. Pablo Escobar put a hit out on you and Greselda. Am I right about that?
No, Escobar put a hit out on Greselda back in her Miami days.
Okay.
So it was this guy who had got out of prison. He was in prison. Griselda's like, they were arch enemies. I mean, he was just as ruthless as she was. He was a dark-skinned Colombian. His name is Octavio Papo Mejia. So When he got out of jail, according to Papaya, which is Escobar's top hitman, according to Papaya told me from his own mouth, but I'll give you the footage, you can roll it on as B-roll or whatever, that when Papo got out of prison, when he was deported back to Colombia, his biggest dream was to kill me and Greselda Blanco. That was his biggest dream.
Escobar.
No.
Oh, the hitman.
Yeah, Octavio.
Yeah.
Papo. But his biggest dream was to kill me and Greselda. That's what he lived for. I showed you the footage earlier, remember?
Yeah, I just for the interview purpose.
It's never been seen before.
How did that make you feel though when you heard that?
I didn't feel no type of way. As you saw, I just asked, well, where's he at now? Because I want to know, is he still alive? Is he within reach for me? You know, do I got to get him before he get me? You know what I'm saying? So my first response was, okay, wow, where's he at now? And so Papaya was like, okay, I'm going to get to it. So he came back to Colombia, sent the keys to the States, back dealing. And so he was driving his truck one day, right? Papa. And he had an accident and he died.
Like you say, karma.
Karma is slow, but she's absolute.
Man, Charles Cosby, man, this was a classic. Hopefully we can run it back. It's so much more I want to get in detail with. You've been through a lot. I mean, but you still here.
Still here, my brother.
You still here.
10 toes down.
Did you ever give up the drug game?
Oh, a long time ago.
You think streets is dead?
They've been there a long time ago. Ain't no money in the streets. You know
None.
What I'm saying? None. Everybody dope fiends now.
The
dealers is dope fiends. Their kids is dope fiends.
You don't think there'll ever be another Greselda?
No. No more Griseldas, no more Pablos, no more
El
Papayas,
Chapos.
no more El Chapo. No. You know, so back then, Escobar, he controlled 10,000 men, right? 80% of the cocaine that came to America was from the Medellin cartel. So now you might have 1,000 men controlling 10 men. As opposed to one man controlling 10,000 men, you might have 1,000 dealers controlling 10 men each. That's how fragmented it is now, the game.
And then it's like, I agree. Like even with rappers, it's like the niggas who used to sell drugs now everybody does them now. Everybody's high now.
Absolutely. That's the new trend. That's the norm.
Yeah.
Getting high. That's the norm.
Then, like you said, no respect. It's like
no respect, bro.
It used to be one leader. Now it's 1,000 leaders.
1,000 leaders.
Watered down.
They not going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
One leader, you know, it took you places. You know, kept money in your pocket. But now it's 1,000 niggas. You know, ain't nobody got no money.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you, man. Hell of a classic interview. We definitely gonna run it back, man.
I appreciate you, my brother. I mean, whatever.
Until next time.
You got my number.
So,
hit me whenever. I
let's
appreciate
do it.
you.
My guy. How long was it?